Welcome to Stretford Paddock. This is the reaction to Erik Ten Hag's first press conference as Manchester United manager. We're going to be going through his quotes, how he speaks to the press, what he said today, and what we can look forward to under Erik Ten Hag. And that's a big thing for me as we go through this video. I want to look at not just what he says, but how he says it, his relationship with the media, his persona, his style when delivering messages to the media. It's something we're going to get used to, obviously, as he's here for longer. But I think it's something we should really look into here because, yes, we'll have the quotes. Yes, we'll go through everything that was said. But I think his demeanour in these situations will be the thing that separates him and either makes him a success with the media or not a success with the media, because he's got a very particular style which we will be getting into throughout this video. Get your comments in, like the video as well. Erik Ten Hag, the Ten Hag era starts now. Basically, we've been saying it for a while. And today we've seen 2 interviews from him, 1 live press conference and 1 a pre-recorded interview with the club as well. Let's go through some of the quotes, and again, let's look at exactly how he delivers the things he delivers. So let's start initially with his overarching style here. He's a very sort of stern, serious, quite short in his responses, and maybe some of that can be looked at as maybe a trait of the fact that he isn't speaking his first language when he's speaking English. But from what I've seen and heard of him speaking Dutch in Netherlands, he is that way anyway. He isn't someone that gives a lot away to the media. He isn't someone that goes on long, rambling, laughing, jokey stories with the media like we've seen in the past. He's someone that keeps it short, keeps it tight, and I think he laughed jokingly at one time, basically sort of incredulity at one of the questions he was asked. But basically, he's not going to be someone that's coming out and trying to make mates with everyone. And personally, I absolutely love to see that. So let's get into some of the quotes then, and we'll come back to his style exactly. There's a few that I thought really stood out. One was talking about how he was asked whether Rangnick's impressions of this squad over the last 6 months will play a role in how he assembles his team and how much of a role that will play. He said, "I will speak to experts, but I will draw my own line." And that was something he repeated throughout the interview when asked about how much advice he'll be taking, how much he's heard and learned from the past coaches and staff at Manchester United. The thing he kept saying, "I draw my own line," which I like that. Obviously, it's immediately he's taking control. He's taking responsibility of the situation at Manchester United. But he's not someone that's coming in going, "Oh, it's so good to be here, and there's so many great people here. I can't wait to listen to what they say and do as I'm told." He's saying, "This is my club. This is my team. Yes, you can give me advice. Yes, you can tell me who's running in training and who isn't. But I'm going to draw my own line and make my own decision on this team." That was basically the case for everyone he was questioned on. Harry Maguire was another one. He said, "I have to repeat, next season is a different season." Talking about Maguire, he did a great job. He's a great player. So clearly someone that's in Ten Hag's plans. He didn't even flirt with the idea of taking the captain's armband off him. Again, that's not to say he won't do that, but it's not something he's going to discuss now. He also mentioned that he hasn't spoke to any of the players so far, which again showed itself when he was asked about Ronaldo. The one time he did laugh in this press conference was when a journalist asked him, "What does Ronaldo bring to this team?" Another way you could have phrased that question is, what does factually the greatest goal scorer of all time bring to the team that he's in? And Ten Hag, unsurprisingly said, "I'll talk first with Ronaldo before I talk to you, but he brings goals." And I like that. I talk first with Ronaldo before I talk to you, because this isn't a media first man. This isn't someone who values everything the media asks him and wants to impress the media. His relationship is with his squad. And he wants to talk to Cristiano Ronaldo and establish exactly what he needs from him, whether he can do that role, what he will bring to the team, whether he'll be here next season, which we assume he will, but we don't know. And then, the media can have 10% of that conversation given back to them. And once he's had his words with Cristiano Ronaldo, I really like that. I think that's a far better way of doing things than trying to say, Ronaldo's a great player. I'm sure he'll be a success next season. I can't wait to work with him. He's a great leader in the dressing room. He just said, "I'll speak to Ronaldo before I speak to you." I absolutely love that. Compost Smurf says, "People getting gassed already." I'm a little bit excited. I like how he addresses the media. I like his short style, his sort of stern way of talking, his direct responses. He was talking about the Premier League. He said, "It's fantastic. I've already met big coaches and big teams in the Premier League, and I know how to deal with that. But it's clear the Premier League is the biggest league in the world, and I think I'm looking forward to battling with them." It was interesting what he said, talking about Liverpool and Man City as well, because obviously the question was, can their dominance be broken without Pep or Klopp having to leave the league? Basically, can you get in there and mix it with the big boys? He said, I admire both of them, Manchester City and Liverpool. They both play fantastic football, but you will always see an era come to an end, which is brilliant. I think that's something that you've seen, even look at Juventus. I know they had a change in managers, but they were so dominant in Italy, and I think they finished 4th this season. You don't have to have huge changes over and over again for teams to sort of drop off a little bit. Even, when Pirlo came in, they dropped off, and they've dropped off further again this season. Sometimes, you just run out of luck. You just get a couple of bad transfers. Your aging players don't age as gracefully as you'd like, and you end up playing people who aren't good enough, who are on big money. And before you know it, let's say Salah falls off a cliff next season, or, Mane isn't the player he is this year, or Van Dijk's knee injury comes back, or whatever it may be. It doesn't always take huge changes at a club for weaknesses and cracks to show, and then you can sort of capitalise on that. Look at last season. Liverpool barely finished 4th. United finished above Liverpool. If City had a bad year, who knows what could have happened. So I like that he's confident. I like that you always see an era come to an end. I like that he stood there saying, I don't need Pep and Klopp to leave this league. I'm going to be a success either way. And his confidence, his sort of self-belief, I think is pretty incredible, actually. And that would be, for me, the best thing about him so far is how he approaches football is someone that is totally self-assured. The way he phrased things, the way he repeatedly said, talking about if we do all the things I say, we'll be successful. That isn't a man lacking confidence. And I'm not saying that, Rangnick or Solskjaer did lack confidence, but I think he has achieved more in his career as a manager than either of those two had. And I think at some time, those things do come into play. Just when there's doubts creeping into the mind of the players, when there's doubts creeping into the mind of the fans, or journalists are poking at you, pundits are poking at you, sometimes having that background of going, I won the league every season at Ajax. I am a good manager. I know how to make teams successful. That's not something Rangnick could rely on mentally. That's not something Solskjaer could rely on mentally. That is something Ten Hag can rely on. And he can stand there and say, if you follow my instructions, we will win, because he's done that before. I think that's such a good foundation to sort of, build and add to the pressure, or allow the pressure to be added to you without it making you crumble, as we've seen in the past. He also spoke about how he knows the pressure on Manchester United, that it's a sort of a different thing to other teams, and that he's ready for that pressure. I thought that was good to hear. I just like the way he approaches these press conferences, the way he speaks to the press, the way he is short and sweet with his answers, but isn't there. You can tell he's not there trying to make friends. I felt like David Moyes at certain times, not that he was trying to make friends with the journalists, but was so happy to be there that he almost felt like, this is great, isn't it? A Man United press conference. Wow, look at this. A room full of people wanting to ask me questions. How brilliant. You don't get that feeling with Ten Hag. You get the feeling like, I've got to do this press conference. I'll answer your questions, but you're not getting any more than that out of me. This isn't football. This is media, and I'm here for football. Sam Cunningham of the Super Chat said, great first impression. Shows he will protect the players and the media won't have a field day. And Abhinav Verma says, I think Ralph was caught between pushing his ideas and adjusting to players' needs, and that cost him. These lot need instructions and are ready to throw managers under the bus. Yeah, I think when you talk about these lot in terms of the players, a lot of those lot won't be there next season. And I think that's a great thing for Ten Hag, a great sort of starting point for him, where I was speaking about this with Stephen yesterday on his season review. If you haven't checked that out, make sure you do. There is going to be a vacuum in that squad simply because of the number of players leaving. I think it's going to be a minimum of 6. I think it could be anywhere up to a dozen players that leave from the first team squad. And that changes the culture and the mood around the dressing room by itself. So now you've got this vacuum, this sort of, leadership vacuum in that dressing room. Then you bring in this new manager with very strong ideas, very stern, very straightforward man. That allows him to have a starting point that's really quite advantageous for a new manager. He can go in there and say, right, this is what this dressing room is going to be, and I'm going to make it happen. Ralph Rangnick came into a fully formed, fully dysfunctional dressing room and didn't have really a place to slot himself in and establish, sort of the leadership of that dressing room. I think Ten Hag can do that. People talk about on the field leaders. Off the field leaders are, to me, just as important. The leadership of a coach, the actual management side of a manager is so important. I think that's one thing that Solskjaer was good at. He managed people well. And I think Rangnick struggled with that a little bit. I know Ten Hag seems like he can be very sort of brash and hard-line character. I think bringing in Steve McClaren could be a real stroke of genius there, where he's known for his personability, he's known for how sort of detailed and tactical he is, but at the same time he knows the culture of Manchester United, he knows what it's like to play, to coach in England, and he knows basically how to get a dressing room working together and firing on all cylinders. So I think that combination of this sort of, like I said, this sort of power vacuum almost in the dressing room that will be there by default from the amount of players that are leaving, plus the strength and the confidence of Ten Hag and his philosophy coming in there, I think it's a great combination that hopefully can bring United some success, relatively early in his tenure. And even if we have to wait, so be it. Jadon Sancho, on the other hand, says it won't work out. He's going to sign 2 or 3 players and won't be allowed to buy any more. He's going to have his players playing alongside the likes of Shaw and McTominay. It just won't work. There have been players of the quality of Shaw and McTominay in every league-winning team or every league-winning squad since the start of football. Manchester United had players of McTominay and Shaw's quality when we won the treble, when we won, the double in 2008. There were players in and around the squad that were the same level of quality as Shaw and McTominay. As long as they, aren't starting week in, week out, as long as they aren't expected to be our best players, that's not in and of itself a problem. Building a new squad over the next 2 or 3 years, I think that's why patience is so required here. Because let's say he does get 2 or 3 players, and let's say 2 of those 3 players work out, because it's not going to be 3 for 3 every single transfer window. That's two players now, maybe another in the winter, 2 in the summer, another in the winter. At best, you're getting 5 or 6 good players a year, every 12 months. So it might take him 2 years, and by that time, then you can have had 6 to 8 players come into this squad, really improve the team, and then you can start saying, actually, this is his team, and the likes of Shaw and McTominay, who make 20 appearances a season off the bench, or they start in the smaller games, or when people need a rest, then they do have their place. When Scott McTominay is coming off the bench for the last 20 minutes against Man City when we're 2-0 up, that is a great time for him. When he plays against Leeds, because we know, that bit of fire and metal that he's got, that is a good time for him to play. Not at home to Barcelona in a Champions League or, away to Atletico Madrid. That's not what we need him for. And if he can be used to the best of his ability, I think he could have a place in this squad. But that's why we have to give him time, because it is going to take a while to build the squad that he needs. That guy says, people think you need 23 world-class players. You simply don't, and even City don't. You need a core of world-class players, a core of players who work hard, and these groups need to blend. Exactly right. That's exactly what you need. You need 5 or 6 world-class players, 3 or 4 top players, and then you need maybe 10 or so really good, hard-working players, and that's more than enough to be a successful squad. You don't even need 11 world-class players, really. You need, like I said, 6 or 7, and then hard-working top players around them. But look at Liverpool. They haven't got 11 world-class players. They've got a handful of world-class players and then excellent players in and amongst it. Interesting essay Preps talking about Ten Hag's English here. He says, I can understand many accents and things of that nature, but I didn't expect to have difficulty understanding him. Surely that will get better. He does have quite a strong accent, Ten Hag. Obviously, his English in and of itself is excellent. His sort of word comprehension was great. There was like a lot of complex, longer words that were being asked of him, and he would repeat them back and use them in sentences and stuff. And obviously, his English is very good. But I do think, he does have quite a strong accent. I think maybe, again, Steve McClaren is going to be such a vital through line from him to the players in so many ways, not just in personality, but in translation, as well at certain times, I'm sure. I think that decision to bring Steve McClaren in, we obviously don't know if it's going to be a success yet, but I think there is a lot riding on that. I think if he's the right person to bridge that gap, he's managed in the Netherlands, he's won the Eredivisie, he speaks great Dutch, he obviously has the reputation at United. He knows English football very well. He's such a crucial cog in all of this, I think, Steve McClaren. So I'm glad that he pushed that through. Unless Steve McClaren starts imitating a Dutch accent again. Yeah, that's true. But we know, if nothing else, Steve McClaren can do that. He can do what Ten Hag does, which is a Dutch person speaking English. Steve McClaren is excellent at that. Let me get your thoughts in the comments as well. Let us know what you think too. basically 2 interviews from Ten Hag today. A big day for him and a big day for Manchester United. He said, talking about the Palace game yesterday, he said, I observed it, I analysed it, but for me, I wasn't in charge and I take this information into the new season. It seems as though, everyone's getting a clean slate. Everyone is, every question he asked about the past at Manchester United, he was asked whether the history of this club is what drew him to the job, and he said, I know the history, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here because we can build a great future. I'm here to be successful in the future. I thought there was an opportunity, is what he said. I thought there was potential at this club. He's not here to dwell over last season or 2008, 99, 68. He's not here to do that. He'll learn that stuff. He knows that stuff, but he's here to look forward. And I think, it's easy, especially as fans, to look at the past and rely on the past for comfort when we've been so poor in the present. But I think for a manager, it's so important that he doesn't do that, that he doesn't just get overwhelmed by the history and the weight of Manchester United, that he can't look forward, he can't focus on the smaller details. Because if you start focusing on the big picture, almost unlike any club in history, there is so much big picture to get swallowed up by that you can end up not focusing on the details. He seems someone that, yes, I want to know about all that. Yes, I know who Bobby Charlton is. Yes, I know who Matt Busby is. He referenced those in his interview with MUTV. But I'm not here to talk about how good United used to be. I'm here to make us that good again. And I really like that from him. I don't think he's someone that's going to allow himself to be overawed by the size and the scale of Manchester United's history. I think he's someone that, is basically here to move things forward and take us back there rather than look back there. I think that's massively important for him. Smith says, I'll be happy with a clear style and a top 4 finish and with a cup in the first 2 years. Yeah, me too. I think if we can get a trophy in the next 2 seasons, that'll be huge. Even if it's a League Cup, a Europa League, whatever it may be, some silverware. I think one thing he may have to do is sort of differentiate his tenure from Solskjaer's. Because obviously, Solskjaer being the last permanent manager, the one thing Solskjaer was missing, he improved the team, he improved the results, we scored more, we conceded less than we did toward the end under Jose. We had better finishers in the league, 3rd and 2nd consecutively. He didn't cement any of that with any silverware. And I think that was the thing that cost him eventually. I think Ten Hag will get 2 or 3 years before he's expected to win the Premier League. I think 3 maybe. I think if we're 3 years into this and we haven't won a trophy, people will start getting itchy feet a little bit. Get a League Cup, get an FA Cup, get a Europa League, whatever it has to be, under your belt. Win some silverware, have pictures of you lifting trophies, have a day where Manchester United fans can sort of celebrate without this kind of, it's not a real celebration because it's only top 4, or it's not a real celebration because we're not winning a league. Give us a chance to really celebrate, and I think that'll buy you so much time as a manager. Excuse me. Dubsy says, McTominay will abolish a 2-0 lead against City and will lose instantly. Sorry, he isn't that good. Well, that's not true, is it? Because he's scored to cement victories against Manchester City, so he's not someone that every time he plays we get battered. That just isn't true. Linville says it's a 5-year plan for me. Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. The overall big trophies plan, Premier League, Champions League, I think that being a 5-year plan is fine with most fans. Again, and I think as much as we can all say the right things, and we'll sit here now and say we'll give him time. People said they'd give Ollie time. And 2 years in, when he didn't win the trophy, that time sort of ran out, didn't it, I think, for a lot of people. So let's sit here. Let's say we'll give him time. But I think if he really wants a bit of extra time, get yourself a trophy in there in the first couple of seasons. Because there are plenty of teams worse than Manchester United capable of winning trophies. You look at, Rangers got to the Europa League final this season. United could certainly hope to do that next year. It's a Duck says, one thing that I worry about is how quick the media will turn on him. Based on that Cottrell vid, they will turn quick. Hopefully he can handle it. Yeah, that was an interesting video, wasn't it? Sky Sports reporter there. Basically, it was like paparazzi from like the early 2000s, like going up to Paris Hilton or something. Do you remember this? What seemed to be the height of paparazzi, where it was like pushing past security guards. Ten Hag's trying to get to his car, and the Sky presenter's saying, this isn't a good look, getting your security guard to push me out the way, when really, leave him alone. If he doesn't want to speak to you, he doesn't need to speak to you. There's no obligation for him to talk to you when you're doorstepping him as he's trying to get into his car. Leave him alone. I don't think it made anyone look silly or it wasn't a bad look for anyone other than Sky. But Ed T says their media are always waiting to destroy us. They are. That's the thing you have to remember in all of this. They love to build it up so they can knock it down. That's the same case with every club, but especially United. The amount of clicks, the amount of views, the amount of likes that United get compared to everyone else, the story has to be big. So if we're winning, the story is, look how great they are. And if they're losing, the story is a club in disarray. It can't ever be United aren't in the best run of form, but they'll turn it around. It can never be that, because you need clicks, you need numbers, you need hyperbole at the first, notion of change in direction. So it's either United could win the league and here's why, or United are in disarray and here's why. And it's always going to be the case with Manchester United as long as we are the biggest club in England, which we are. Talking about Ten Hag and Van der Gaag and Steve McLaren, he said they both know how to get success. They both have won titles and trophies in their careers, and that's why they're here. He was asked why they were brought in and what they would bring. I think the question was more sort of in line with what roles would they have in terms of the coaching setup. He said they know how to get success. They've won titles and trophies in their careers. That's why they're here. Again, I love that. He's not, basically he's not spilling the beans on what each coaching session will be like. McLaren will do this sort of coaching and Van der Gaag will set the cones out for this and that. They're here because they're good. That's what they're doing. They're bringing their expertise. And again, talking about Ronaldo, he said, "What does Ronaldo fit in your plans and what does he bring?" Of course, what does he bring? Goals. Obviously, the greatest goal scorer in the history of football. He brings goals. That's pretty simple. Right, that's going to be all from me. A great start, I would say, to Ten Hag's tenure at Manchester United. Addressing the media, not giving much away whatsoever. Anyone who watched that interview will know he's a sort of straight back down the line, defensive cricketer type, player. Jeffrey Boycott, just defending everything. No lashing out. No giving big answers, no rambling, no romance. Literally, answer the question. Next question, please. He'll speak to the player before he speaks to the press. I'm here to be successful. I'm not looking back. I'm not going to dwell on the past. I see potential at this club and we are going to be successful. Follow my plan and we will win. That's exactly what I want to hear from a Manchester United manager. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you in a bit.